Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. The studio lights were warmer than usual that morning, glowing softly against the polished desk where Savannah Guthrie had spent so many years greeting America with a steady smile and a reassuring voice. Yet on this day, something felt different. There was a hush beneath the familiar bustle, a tenderness in the air, as if the room itself understood that Savannah was carrying more than just the weight of the day's headlines. When Savannah finally spoke, her voice, once effortlessly strong, was quieter, carefully measured. Each word seemed chosen not only for its meaning, but for the effort it took to say it. Millions of viewers noticed immediately. Some leaned closer to their screens. Others felt a tightening in their chests. And in that fragile moment, Savannah Guthrie shared a painful health update that would ripple far beyond the studio walls. She had undergone vocal cord surgery. For someone whose life had been shaped by her voice, by interviews that demanded clarity, by breaking news that required calm authority, by moments of joy and grief shared live on air, the news landed heavily. Her voice was not just an instrument of her profession, it was the thread that connected her to the audience, a familiar sound woven into the mornings of millions. Savannah didn't dramatize the moment. She never did. Instead, she spoke honestly, acknowledging the fear, the frustration, and the uncertainty that had crept into her life over recent months. She admitted that the decision for surgery hadn't been easy. It came after weeks of strain, of waking up hoarse, of pushing through discomfort because that's what professionals do, until the body finally asks to be heard. Behind the calm delivery was a woman grappling with vulnerability. A silent struggle behind the smile. What fans didn't see were the long nights Savannah spent replaying her day, wondering if she had pushed herself too hard. There were moments at home when she tried to read bedtime stories to her children, only to pause and swallow, her voice cracking in a way that startled even her. She would laugh it off, but inside, worry bloomed quietly. Savannah had always been strong, from her early days climbing the ladder of broadcast journalism to her role as a trusted morning anchor. Resilience had been her trademark. She had covered wars, political turmoil, and national tragedies. She had comforted grieving families and asked hard questions of powerful people. But this felt deeply personal. A voice injury isn't just physical. It carries emotional weight. Every time Savannah opened her mouth and felt pain, it was a reminder that even the strongest among us are not invincible. Doctors urged rest, complete vocal rest. For someone used to speaking for hours every day, silence felt unbearable. Savannah tried to comply, communicating through notes and texts, learning to listen more than speak. In that quiet, fears crept in. What if the surgery didn't work? What if her voice never fully returned? What if the career she loved was suddenly out of reach? The day Savannah decided to go forward with vocal cord surgery, she sat in her car for a few minutes before turning the engine on. She stared at her reflection in the rearview mirror, professional, composed, familiar, and felt a flicker of uncertainty she hadn't known in years. Surgery meant hope, but it also meant risk. The procedure itself was described as routine by doctors, but Savannah understood what was at stake. The vocal cords are delicate, intricate, unforgiving. A millimeter can make the difference between a full recovery and a permanent change. As she was wheeled into the operating room, Savannah closed her eyes and focused on the faces that mattered most: her children, her husband, her colleagues, and the viewers who had welcomed her into their homes every morning.
She thought of the countless times she had used her voice to tell important stories. Now, she needed that same voice to heal. When she woke up, the room was quiet. Too quiet. Instinctively, she wanted to speak, to ask how it went, but she didn't. Instead, she waited, tears welling in her eyes, unsure whether they were from relief or fear. The surgery was successful, but recovery would be long and uncertain. Fans feel the pain too. News of Savannah's surgery spread quickly. Social media filled with messages from fans who had grown up watching her, who trusted her, who felt as if they knew her personally. Some shared their own stories of vocal injuries, of surgeries, of fear and hope. Others simply wrote, "Rest, Savannah. We'll be here when you're ready." It was a reminder that Savannah wasn't alone. Colleagues reached out privately, offering support and encouragement. The studio felt different without her presence, her laugh, her quick wit, her steady guidance.
News. Even those who hadn't realized how much they relied on her felt the absence deeply. Savannah, meanwhile, followed doctor's orders with discipline. No talking, no whispering, no rushing the process. She learned to be patient with herself, though it didn't come easily. Healing required surrendering control, and that was perhaps the hardest part. Finding strength in silence. There is a strange intimacy in silence. Without the constant need to perform, Savannah found herself reflecting on her journey, on how far she had come, and on how much she still wanted to give. She wrote letters instead of speaking. She listened more carefully to her children's stories. She discovered that her presence didn't always need words, and in that quiet, she began to heal not just physically, but emotionally. Still, there were setbacks. Days when her voice felt strained after saying only a few words. Nights when fear returned, whispering doubts she couldn't ignore. But Savannah reminded herself that recovery is rarely linear. Each small improvement was a victory. Each day of patience was an act of courage. Returning, one word at a time. When Savannah finally returned to the studio, the moment was emotional. She didn't make a grand entrance. She didn't need to. Her presence alone was enough. Her voice was softer now, more deliberate, but it carried something new, an undercurrent of gratitude, of resilience forged through vulnerability. Viewers noticed. Many said her words felt even more meaningful, as if every sentence was infused with intention. Savannah addressed the audience directly, thanking them for their concern, their kindness, their patience. She admitted that the experience had scared her, that it had forced her to confront her limits. But she also shared what it had taught her, that strength isn't about pushing through pain, it's about listening when your body asks for care. Tears glistened in her eyes as she spoke, and in living rooms across the country, viewers felt their own eyes sting in response. A voice changed, not lost. Savannah Guthrie's vocal cord surgery did more than repair an injury. It reshaped her relationship with her voice. She no longer took it for granted. Each broadcast became a reminder of how precious it was, how easily it could be lost, and how deeply it connected her to others. Fans still worry, still listen closely, still hold their breath when her voice falters slightly. But they also celebrate her courage, her honesty, her refusal to hide behind a polished facade. Savannah didn't just return to television, she returned with perspective, with humility, with a deeper understanding of what it means to be human in a profession that often demands perfection. Hope beyond the headlines. Today, Savannah continues to heal. Doctors remain optimistic, and she remains cautious.
She knows recovery doesn't end when the cameras turn back on. It's an ongoing journey, one that requires balance, rest, and self-compassion. For fans, her story is more than a health update. It's a reminder that even the most familiar, confident voices carry unseen battles, that vulnerability doesn't weaken credibility, it deepens it. And as Savannah Guthrie continues to speak, carefully, courageously, her voice carries something powerful, the quiet strength of survival, and the unbreakable bond between a woman and the millions who listen, not just to her words, but to her heart.